Reddit, you know that novel you've never written, what is it about? Humans are routinely kidnapped as children by an ancient and powerful spacefaring race and used as slave soldiers due to our comparative size, strength, and how difficult it is to kill us, and humans become the most feared warriors in the galaxy. After a tour of duty they're told that they are free, but the location of Earth is kept secret due to its value as a source of warriors, so they have no choice but to enlist again, or work as mercenaries, pirates, or private security until they die. A wreck of an old explorer ship belonging to this ancient race is being salvaged by a human crew, and they find a geological survey of our solar system, including the location of Earth. The discovery of this survey gets out and sparks a race between warring factions to destroy Earth, and the ragtag bunch of humans trying to get home and save their home. Hits a little on a note of actual possibility. Aliens never land because honestly, what world has 3 world wars with itself? What kind of species develops thermonuclear low-elevation detonating missiles before they invent magnetic resonance imaging? The kind that you absolutely don't let into space as an entire species. They killed off all of the lions in England for goodness sakes. These are all reasons for humans being selected. In the context of this galactic community, we're a uniquely warlike species. I envision them starting by observing Spartans, Vikings, and Mongols and the like. Earth is like Space Florida and Space Australia combined for the rest of the galaxy. Also, for the purposes of this story, the aliens in question have adapted to life in zero-G and so need other species to fight ground wars for them. You're not stealing my ideas. That's a great idea. Grover Matic is your everyday Groult, working at the factory making the product. But in secret he is working on his novel, The Before. But as he is about to start typing out the story, his dick falls off, but then a co-worker picks it up and uses as a toothbrush, but then he realizes that he forgot to. I actually started writing it, but haven't touched it in a while. I hope to go back to it eventually. You know how so many fantasy plots revolve around a group of heroes that have to go banish the ultimate evil every 100 years or whatever, and this time they do. It for real? Well, that's happened already and the world is a utopia. So a dumb group of teenagers decide that life is too boring and go on a quest to release the baddie and make life interesting again. Clearly it's the start to a trilogy, where they release him by book 2, after finding a ragtag group of friends in book 1 to help of course, and then book 3 trying to undo it because oops they banished him for a reason. The plan is actually 2 books, but the same gist, haha. Turns out that badness is bad. It's about a witch who cursed the world so that a sinful person turns into a monster every 100 years based on his sin. The story is more so of an anthology focusing on different cursed people. For example, a werewolf who retains his sanity but cannot change back unless he devours another human, essentially doing an inhumane act to appear human. A medium, someone who speaks with the dead, who got fed up with the ghosts asking for help so she starts consuming their souls to shut them up, turning into a soul eater. I've been calling it The Cursed since. Sounds good. Never really heard a plot quite like that. Alright, this a good idea with a good format. Would read. I really like the idea and I think this could turn into a modern fairy tale full of irony and sarcasm. Has a lot of potential for some dark humor too. I would also suggest a psychic, who despite being highly sought after, has given up on telling people their future, because they never listen anyway, and think it was her who cursed them. Would be cool if the main character knew they were next and were investigating ways to stop it. The whole universe actually consists of a multiverse, but the whole collection of that multiverse actually still exists within the bubble. This is the story about the land on the edge of that multiverse. It is a land that infinitely stretches in all direction, and has no natural inhabitants. However, there are still people who are accidentally pulled into this universe due to a combination of sheer bad luck and a space-time anomaly, and those people become its inhabitants. They are stuck there permanently since there isn't a known way out. Due to this, basically no 2 inhabitants are from the same universe, except for very specific instances, and all of them are wildly different, from gods and celestial beings, to normal people like us, to totally random species. The stories I make up then revolves around the beings that live within this world. The first ever beings to arrive, the individuals who are able to change it significantly, to even the regular Joes that are simply unlucky enough to get yoted into this place. That's actually a pretty good start for a isekai type story. Actually, part of my inspiration was to create an isekai type story. However, I also wanted the theme to focus more on the fantastical and exploration aspect, and to basically cut out all those spiel about harems, op protagonists, and cheap villains. So basically to create an another world type story that is closer to traditional fantasy than light novel stories. The setting is also noticeably much more serious than a lot of isekai stories, with a lot of the side stories having themes about revenge, power, regret, all those stuff. Removing wisdom teeth makes you stupider. The wise man can pick up a grain of sand and envision a whole universe. But the stupid man will just lie down on some seaweed and roll around until he's completely draped in it. Then he'll stand up and go, "Hey, I'm Vine Man." Jack Handy. What does this even mean? Set hundreds of years in the future after a nuclear civil war destroys American society, it's about a farmer who becomes the president of a republic in the mountains of southern Appalachia. Would totally read this, thanks. I started it years ago, but working on other projects got in the way. I used to write short stories all the time in high school and the first part of college. But I'm a filmmaker/student, so most of my writing time is devoted to screenwriting. How my extended family basically tricked and manipulated my father into paying my second cousin's wedding, 30-year-old male, down to the church flowers and toothpicks at the reception. We are a middle-class family in Europe. They then asked him not to tell anyone because it's embarrassing. And next week my cousin and his 6-month pregnant bride buy a used BMW coupe. There is a load of crazy details and the characters involved basically have to be put on page. No lie would read this. Probably an enraging set of details in that whole story. You know it's bad because of all the second cars they decide to buy. It was a BMW. Honestly, that was the hook for me. A planet where the physiology of all life consists of bread, meat, cheese, and sauce. The races have been at war for millennia. Sandwiches are the largest race, but then you have pitas, wraps, burgers, tacos, burritos, flatbreads, and pizza, who technically aren't a sandwich people, but are made of the same ingredients everyone else is composed of. In the beginning it's speculated that the cook created all life, but as people begin to lose faith, the popular belief is that space travelers from a distant universe once visited this planet, and left behind a lunchbox, which all life evolved from. Burgers are actually sandwiches in disguise, but they reveal it at the end though, right? Burgers are in fact sandwiches. But the true reveal is that the entire planet was created as a self-sustaining ecosystem, created to feed an overpopulated Earth, no longer able to support agriculture. Cloudy with a chance of meatballs, is that you? A urban fantasy novel series set in my town and the surrounding area. A natural magic user gets contacted by the local werewolf pack to investigate the murder of a wolf, regular wolf. Upon investigation, he discovers that the wolf had its soul ripped out. Magic user follows lead, finds the person who did it, and discovers a huge plan based out of Pittsburgh to sever the spirit world from the physical world. Who is orchestrating it? A vampire. A science fiction novel where in the near future people who commit terrible crimes aren't killed, but sedated. Once a year they get a day to wake up and see what has changed. It'll be about the horrors of seeing your life flash before your eyes as well as the characters the murderer impacted. Imagine you are 30 and kill someone. You go to trial and find out your sentence is somewhere between 20 and 30 days to live. Except on day 10 you get cancer. That second one sounds amazing. I totally read it. That criminal one sounds phenomenal. About a couple of HS sweethearts that broke up because they couldn't make a long-distance relationship work, but find each other a decade or so later and decide to give it another shot. I just want to write about how a man and woman experience their 20s, college/uni, entering the job market, dealing with bosses, dealing with parents who are growing annoyingly old, etc. The insecurities that come with not achieving the totally unrealistic dreams they had at 17, comparing themselves to the expectations they had for each other or to how well/badly their former classmates are doing, things like that. Oh, and since this would probably be a very smutty novel, with a possible femdom twist, I wanted to explore how people mature sexually as they approach their 30s. I mean, my 17-year-old self was intimidated by something as natural as the thought of my GF masturbating alone. And she, in turn, was desperately insecure about me going down on her. I think it'd be fun to look back at those days through the eyes of two people who know so much better by now. That sounds like an awesome story. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you have a similar story, share it in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe for more. Have a great day, or night.